Hey guys, this is Greg Denning, and you are in the School of Awesome Sauce, where I share with you amazing stories and strategies to help you live an extraordinary life. Hey, my friends, welcome to another episode of the School of Awesome Sauce podcast. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it, and it says a lot about you. You're awesome. You're intentional. You're trying to make the most of yourself and live deliberately and create an awesome life. I love it. Love it. Man, and I love what I do. We started our courses for parents, and we've done 2 of them so far. I got a 3rd one tomorrow. We're starting, and I'm now getting into the courses for youth. And we're doing our School of Awesome Sauce classes. We're doing our Freedom Income Mastermind meetings. And this is awesome. I get to do this day in and day out. I'm literally presenting multiple times every day. And I love it. I love working with awesome people who are striving, even in the midst of our challenges and our weaknesses and our struggles. The fact that we're moving forward, we're trying to learn and grow and improve and make ourselves better and figure things out so we can do life in a great way. It's so awesome. And I get to read tons of great books and listen to tons of great audiobooks and share, like literally, you guys, I share these truths that I've learned from my experiences of study for decades and working with people all around the world, and literally share life-changing truths and principles. And then I get messages all the time, and people like, hey, that thing changed me. What you said there just totally rocked my reality, helped me make a shift. And oh, you guys, it's so exciting and so fun. So take advantage of it, get on it. You can totally transform your life by getting the mentoring and the coaching. Take advantage of that. Invest in yourself, level up, make it happen. Oh, it's so awesome. And if you're ready for that, go to worldschoolacademy.com and check out those classes. Okay, so you guys, I'm super stoked for this one. This is the second part in a 3-part series on mindset, heartset, and skillset. Right? These 3 foundational pillars we need. And so, of course, we talked about the mind, and it all starts with the mind. What you think about, you bring about, my friends. And of course, those thoughts determine our emotions. And our emotions, our heart set is the word I like to use there. Our heart set it's the power plant. It's where all the power is. And whether we want it or not, whether we utilize it or not, whether we direct it and control it or not, it is the power plant for our lives. Now, unfortunately, a lot of us and a lot of people have this unbelievable amount of power, often leading them in the wrong direction. They've got all this energy and all this force pushing them and driving them and pulling them in the wrong direction. And it's usually to waste, frivolous waste. And our emotions, very often our emotions are traitors. And they're deceptive. And we feel it, right? Nobody's ever going to say that you don't feel it. Oh, we feel it all right. But listen to this. This is so profound. Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's true or correct. How many times have you felt something, intensely felt something, and then later realized that either you were wrong or the feeling was wrong, or even though you felt it, it wasn't serving you, it wasn't helping you, right? And that's happened to me so many times. And we're passionate, emotional beings, and our emotions have so much potential and so much power, but rarely, where have you ever had a class like this? Where have you ever had a training to educate your emotions? Right? To school your emotions, to direct them and channel them, and actually, check this out, to examine them and test them and like observe them and say, hey, wait a minute. All right, I'm feeling this. Should I be feeling this? Is this justified? And even if it is justified, like in quotes, even if it's justified, is this who I want to be? Does this serve me? Does it help me? And we're going to talk about that today, of like getting our heart set in the right place. Because even if our mindset's going right, and again, they're so interconnected. If your mindset is rolling in the good place, your heart set's going to follow, because our mind really directs our emotions. But without really channeled, it's your power plant. And without channeling all that power and all that energy in the right direction, we end up wasting it and letting it destroy our life sometimes. Have you ever just felt so much emotion and exploded in your marriage or a friendship or a stranger or children, and just all that energy comes out, and it damages us. And have you ever made a decision? It's kind of silly of me to ask this, but I'm trying to get you to buy in here, because I know the answer is yes. Of course you have. We've all made emotional decisions that logically we're like, that was dumb, but we made it emotionally. In fact, the vast majority of our decisions, check this out, this is going to kind of be insightful here. The vast majority of the decisions that you and I make are emotional decisions. And we think rationally, I need to do this and I ought to do that. But very often we're just like, man, I'm just going to do this because that's what I feel like doing. And even the crazy things people do, they do it emotionally because they want some kind of emotional outcome. They want to feel loved, or they want to love, or they want a sense of meaning and connection and significance. You with me? So they have all these emotional outcomes, and it is so powerful to wrap your mind around that. And I want to invite all of us to look through that and say, hey, where's my heart set? Where is my heart set overall? In the great book, The Anatomy of Peace, he talks about having a heart at war or a heart at peace. And I've referenced that before. But what's your overall heart set? And we can do this I don't know, how do you call it? This figurative open heart surgery. And we can look in there and say, well, how's the heart set? How's the emotions? And unless you've been educating your emotions, and unless you've been channeling them and directing them and challenging them and helping them grow and expand and improve, then in all likelihood, because you're a human being, a lot of your emotions are in fight or flight. And so you get upset about something triggers you, it doesn't work out as you thought, somebody says something, you just wake up ornery as a bear one morning for some reason, you don't get enough food or sleep or whatever. I mean, just on and on and on. You're just stressed out of your mind, and think what happens. We either become really irritable and we fight, right? We react with contention and anger and explosion, or with flight. We run, we slam doors, we get in the car and drive off, and we run away and walk away and don't talk to me. It's literally fight or flight. And those are the emotional responses. And if we're not progressing and growing and even cognizant of that, and again, for a lot of you, it's not your fault. You've never been trained. You've never been taught. Nobody set you aside and say, hey, really, you need to work on this. You have all this power in your emotions. You got to get your heart set right and healthy and trained. It all comes down to our training. It all comes down to our training. Archilochus said, we do not rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training. And that is as true emotionally as in anything else. You will fall to the level of your emotional training. Woo! So I'm going to give some examples about that and how to do it. But you have the power and the capability emotionally to get to a place where Marcus Aurelius said, you can choose not to be harmed. And then you won't feel harmed. And if you don't feel harmed, then you haven't been. And contrast that with how many of us, somebody says something. They say something mean or rude, or they don't say something you think they should. Or you have an expectations of how things should go, and it doesn't go that way. Or you're pursuing something. Look, if you and I are pursuing goals, if we're trying to live an intentional, awesome life, I promise you there are going to be opportunities that will test you and try you emotionally. There's going to be stress. There's going to be struggle. There are going to be challenges. This is part of the game. And what's ironic is some people are like, I'm not pursuing goals. I'm not going after. I'm not going to try to live a great life because there's so many challenges. And you know what's interesting is if you try to do nothing with your life, there are also emotional challenges that come with that. And so in one sense, my friends, like we are going to have emotional struggles and challenges. So whether you live an epic life or whether you live a very mediocre, kind of hidden life, there's going to be emotional challenges either way. You're going to have those emotional challenges and struggles, so you might as well live an extraordinary life and learn to channel this emotional power in your favor, even to the point of literally choosing not to be harmed by what people say. I mean, some of you are still holding on to something mean somebody said back to you in middle school. And if I can be totally honest with love, it's time to let that go. It's time to rise up and say, you know what? No more. I'm not holding on to that. I'm not letting other people define me. I'm not. And what happens is when you think about it, and even me just saying it, it'll draw up those emotions again. It'll stir up those painful emotions again. And this time, let them be stirred up, let them come up, and then let them go. And let it be gone. Be done with those things. Right? So how do we do it? How do we actually start getting these emotional muscles? Which is interesting. Like literally, and most of us never think like this, and we've never been taught this concept of our emotional mastery. Our heart set is a matter of training, and it comes by practice. Theodore Roosevelt, who is one of my all-time favorite chosen mentors, he said, he was referring to a certain person. He said, such a man needs not courage, but nerve control. Cool-headedness, which is, the mind control. And by nerve control, you're not talking about actual nerves. Like, you got nerves, meaning you got emotional control. This he can get only by practice. That's the rest of the quote from Theodore Roosevelt. This he can get only by practice. Oh! We have to try it. We have to exercise those emotional muscles. And we actually have to seek out emotional stress. And I know you're like, what? Why on earth would I seek out emotional stress? Well, it's for the exact same reason you go to the gym, or you go running, or you go biking, or swimming, or dancing, or whatever it is you love to do. Why on earth would you go to a gym and put heavy weights in your hand? Why would anyone do that? Because we want to get stronger. Why would you go out and run this morning? I took my kids and we did jiu-jitsu after I went on a bike ride this morning with my wife. Why on earth would we do that? Because we want to stay healthy and fit. We need practice and training, but very few of us seek out opportunities to exercise and get our emotions fit and healthy. And it comes through practice. Just like, the whole concept from the great book, The Full Power of Engagement, right? And in order to have full engagement and have full energy levels, we have to increase our stress and increase our recovery. Stress, recovery. Stress, recovery. And so we're exercising and resting. We have to do that emotionally. And you get to this point where there's so many great examples throughout history of people who kept their cool in the midst of the most crazy experiences that would try all of us, they were able to keep their cool. Police officers do it. Soldiers do it. Doctors do it. I worked as an EMT. And the first class I went to, when I went to EMT training, the first class, they showed us all these horrendous pictures of injuries and wounds. And it was disturbing. It was very disturbing. And they did that intentionally. And then, after they did it, and you see everyone's reaction in the room, like some were crying, some were getting sick, some were passing out, others needed to leave. But they're like, hey, you have no business being in here if you're not willing to exercise those emotional muscles so that when you get in a seriously intense situation where there's been a horrible accident or some kind of disaster, you have to keep your cool. And you have to be trained again and again and again to keep your cool. Right? And so you go into a scene, and this has happened to me again and again and again. In my travels all over the world, I've had the privilege to be right nearby when terrible accidents have happened, and I've been able to help save lives. And in some cases got there and they were dying, and I was there as they left this life. But because of my training, I literally have been able to totally stay calm, stay cool in my head and my emotions, keep my emotions in check, and make clear decisions and act on my training. Where when we let our emotions take control, we don't think clearly. We don't speak clearly. We don't act clearly. And often when our emotions are out of control, then we say and do things that we really regret and that do not serve us and often hurt us and hurt others around us. You know what I'm saying, right? You guys know what I'm talking about because I know you've had this. You've had these emotional outbursts that, either to tears or to anger or whatever, where you say something or do something that later you really regret. And this is part of this heart set. We've got to train our emotions. And you think through like astronauts, right, going into space, or physicians who work in the emergency room and have serious, or these helicopter pilots and nurses and EMTs and paramedics that go out on these scenes. They're trying to rescue people in disaster situations, or people who train for major natural disasters. You've got to exercise those emotional muscles so that you're calm and cool and collected. Now, does that mean you don't feel anything? Are these people numb? Are they robots? Are they heartless? Are they mindless? Do they not feel anything? Not at all. They feel it, and you feel it, and we should. We should have a full range of beautiful, healthy emotions. There are times we should be very angry, and times we should be very sad, and times to be discouraged, and times to be upset, and times to be super crazy happy, and times to be peaceful, and times to be energized, right? We have this full range of emotions, and we need to have that full range, and we need to cultivate them. I'm not suggesting here that we're numb and we only feel one thing. What I'm suggesting is that we exercise these emotional muscles, and so we're fit and we're healthy emotionally, and we have our heart set in the right place. It's at peace. It's in control. So basically the idea is I'm not out of control. I'm always in control. I am always in control. At all times, my heart set is in control. Where you get guys like Ulysses S. Grant. There was a steamer exploded. His troops were unloading the steamer and it exploded. Everybody hit the dirt, was running, debris flying, and he was seen running toward the scene of the explosion. Like crazy. It's amazing that this would happen. And oh, hi little sweet baby. Sorry, there's an interruption here. Sorry, we'll get it. Sorry. Oh, okay. You guys got it raw right there. Cute little kids coming in. Sorry about that. And so, there we go. There's perfect. Interruption. Keep the calm. Keep the nerves in. Right? And And he was able to do that. And as we're going through life, like there's going to be risk. There are going to be setbacks. How will you and I handle failure? How will you handle hurt? How will you handle other people's poor decisions? How will you handle your own poor decisions? How will you handle the stress that comes? I hope we can all do it with class, right? To be really classy, to have grace and respect. And respond in a way that people who are noticing or watching are like, wow, she handled that so well. Right? That's where we want to be. And again, this isn't being numb where you don't feel anything, nor is it a facade. You're not putting on a mask, because a lot of us do that too. We're feeling all this crazy inner turmoil and putting on the mask like, no, everything's okay. And then we have our meltdown later. But we feel it. It's okay to feel it. Like you feel it, but then you choose it. And so literally, it honestly is a matter of choice. And where we decide to govern ourselves, right? Publius Syrus one time said, would you have a great empire? Then rule over yourself, right? And there's this really funny poem that my daughter read and shared with me about this king who, thought he could control everyone in his kingdom, but his servants adroitly said, well, there is one person in your kingdom you cannot control. And he's like, bring him here and I'll kill him. And he says, well, for you, that would be suicide, because the only person you cannot control is yourself. You have no self-control. And we literally get to this point, my friends, where we choose. It's a choice. And sometimes you're just going to say, look, I just refused to react to idiots. And the idiosyncrasies of humanity. I'm just not going to do it. Somebody's going to be angry and mad and upset and scream and yell and insult. I absolutely refuse to react to that. I'm going to respond with dignity. Okay? And sometimes it's choosing to, submit or accept. Like something, really drastic or difficult happens, and you say, okay, instead of freaking out here, instead of giving up control, I'm just going to accept. This didn't work out like I hoped. I'm not giving up, right? I'm back in this game, but I'm not going to overreact either. I'm going to keep thinking clearly. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to resort back to my, remember the fight and flight thing? Fight or flight? Like I'm not, that's kind of the animal in us, you guys. And how many of us have acted like animals before? Well, all of us. And some of us act like animals all the time emotionally. I know people that are like that. They literally they've not exercised their emotional muscles, and man, they act like animals most of the time. And they go crazy. And so we have to get to this place where, you've heard this before, it's like, the saying of water off a duck's back, where we actually we develop through practice, like Theodore Roosevelt says, some emotional resilience. Just like the EMT example. Like I trained to where I could see some pretty horrendous things and scary things, and I felt it. Of course I felt it. There's another human being that's suffering. Of course I felt it. I felt it to extreme levels. But I didn't let it, I had emotional resilience. I didn't let it crush me or knock me off my feet or out of my thinking and my training. Right? I didn't let fear overcome me. And I've told this story many times where I used to have a crazy, crazy temper. And I luckily, not even luckily, like I trained and I practiced. Somebody taught me that it was possible, and so I worked on it. So by the time I met my wife, Rachel, I had already mastered that. And like, she has rarely, if ever, seen me get really angry. Like, I used to explode. She doesn't even see that anymore. Well, she's never seen it. Like, it's not there because of the training. And you can do it with all kinds of things. Think about birth, right? You see people that, with a birth, they freak out. And, you see it in the movies, and you hear these horror stories of, oh no, the baby's coming. And it's like freak out session. Dad passes out cold or runs over the neighbor's mailbox and like super freak out. And yet my wife's given birth to 6 children, and it was always calm and peaceful, and we worked with midwives and doulas, and I've been at other births, and it's just been amazing where you just see the calm peace, even when things get a little bit risky or dangerous. Like, one of my children had the umbilical cord wrapped around their neck, and another time Rachel passed out cold. Boom, gone, right? But it was calm, collected. We just keep working. We do what we know. We do the training. You go through everything, and baby and mom are good, right? And there's another example, and we can work through these things. But literally, my friends, and I don't know how to emphasize this strongly enough, the difference between success and failure, the difference between happiness and misery, all comes back to managing our emotions, regulating our emotions, controlling and directing our emotions in a healthy way. People are letting their emotions get the best of them, and they're creating massive amounts of anxiety. It's okay to feel anxious. It's okay to be afraid. We're all going to do that. I guess that's normal. That's part of the human experience. But when we don't manage it, then it gets out of control, and it starts to control our lives. And so many people are being controlled by their fears and their anxieties. We're going to be depressed. I felt depressed. You felt depressed. And we get depressed often. But if we don't manage it, exercise it, regulate it, like work on it, improve it, then it's easy to sink into this pattern of feeling depressed again and again and again, and most of the time. Same with fear, same with anger. And so, like, as is 100% true with the mind, that most of us have problems with our emotional mastery. Well, with the mind, the majority of problems with the mind are not that we actually have this problem. It's just poor mental management. Let that sink in. I know this is huge and it's not going to be real popular, but it's so true. The vast majority of our problems psychologically are from poor mind management. Let that sink in. Now, I know some of you are like, that's so simplistic. You just think you change your thoughts and it solves all your problem. Well, actually, yes. When you study and understand psychology and thinking, there are a few exceptions, but those are rare. For the vast majority of people, and for most of you and for me, our problems come from poor management of our minds and our thoughts. The exact same is true emotionally. So many of our emotional problems, all this power and all this force and drive is causing problems in our life literally because of poor emotional management. Boom! Isn't that exciting? Man, I love this stuff. And that's exciting because that means you have the power. I have the power. You get to do something about that. You're not a victim. You're not stuck. Like, it's in your power. In fact, nobody else has this power in your life like you do. It's impossible, actually. You have your hand on those controls. But if you let go of the controls and you're just being controlled by them, you've given up control. Isn't this exciting? Like emotional management. Getting these skills, getting the practice, the training will bring this all back to a whole new level that maybe you've never even enjoyed in your life before. Oh man, I love this stuff. Oh, I love this stuff. And we can get to a place, again, coming back full circle to what Marcus Aurelius said, where you can even choose not to be harmed. And you don't feel harmed, and so you're not. And you can choose not to be emotionally triggered when people try to trigger you. You can choose it. It's a choice. And it only comes through practice, like Theodore Roosevelt said. But oh, the power and the awesomeness to be able to make that happen. And get to this place where our lives, for the most part, like literally the vast majority of the time, we are calm and we're collected. We feel peaceful. We feel just happiness, peace, contentedness, joy, meaning. Now, again, we're going to feel that full range of emotions. I get it. But honestly, the most of the time we could feel really good. And I've been practicing this for decades because I was so out of control emotionally. And I wanted control. I wanted management. So I've been practicing for years. And I'm not boasting here. I'm telling you, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I got this down. And I'm going to keep improving. I'm going to keep working on it. But man, I'm in a fantastic place emotionally because I'm practicing emotional management. These practices, these techniques, you can do it too. Right? And oh man, I love this stuff. I love it. So you just look at whatever's happening and just take a breather. It's okay. Take a break. Take a breather. And just, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? Why am I feeling anxious? Why am I feeling depressed? Why am I feeling discouraged? Why am I feeling hopeless? Why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling bleh? Why am I bothered and frustrated and preoccupied? I mean, go through everything. Why am I feeling that? Am I dying? Right? And for most of us, no, you're not dying. And, is this the end of all things in my life? Well, no, it's not. Is this a total catastrophe? No, usually no. And you stop and say, okay, is this feeling serving me? I'm feeling it. I'm acknowledging it. Do I want to keep this? Is it helping me? Is it serving me? And then you can choose. And I love this thing with Marcus Aurelius. He said this. He says, does what happened keep you from acting with justice or generosity or self-control or sanity or prudence or honesty, humility or straightforwardness? I mean, his question is beautiful. He's like, okay, whatever happened, it doesn't even matter. Anything that happened, is it preventing you from still making good choices and being a good person? And the answer is, no, it's not. We still have a power of choice. Like Viktor Frankl said in Man's Search for Meaning when he's in a concentration camp, even in a concentration camp, he said the one thing that nobody can ever take away from you is your power to choose. To choose how to respond to what they're doing. So even when they took him and they put him in a concentration camp and they were starving and they were dying and being beaten and abused, he still had the power to choose how he was going to respond to what they were doing. That's it. It was amazing. And he did it in the worst of conditions. And so you and I can do it in our lives too. And as we get our mindset exercised in place, we got our mind management just rocking it. And then we do the same thing with our emotions. We get our emotional management just lined up, going smooth, on top of it, exercising the emotions, practice and train and practice and train and practice and train. And occasionally we actually literally seek out opportunities that provide emotional stress and how we can respond to them. Think about the training that would happen for elite soldiers or astronauts or pilots. I mean, they run them through emergency scenarios. Keep your cool, think clearly. Keep your cool, think clearly, go to your training. How can you do that as a spouse, as a parent, as a teacher, as a whatever your work is as a neighbor, as a friend, as a human being that interacts with other people that are really frustrating, as a go-getter and a high achiever, as you're pursuing your goals and you have high aims. You know it's coming, so prep for it. It's not lucky or unlucky. It's not have or have not. It's training. And you can literally get to this place where it's all falling apart all around you. The sky is falling, and you're standing there like Ulysses Grant with bombs exploding around him, totally focused on what needs to be done. Oh, yeah. I love this stuff, you guys. I love it. So seek out ways. Get really clear about where you're struggling emotionally. Where's your heart set off? What are your tendencies? What do you usually react to? What are your triggers? Identify those. And it's probably going to be pretty easy. You're going to be like, oh man, like I always get emotionally triggered when so-and-so does that thing. Okay? Now you know. Write it down, identify it, and then write down next to it how you would like to respond. What's your ideal heart set in that moment? And then prep yourself ahead of time. It's hard to do in the moment. Prep yourself ahead of time, okay? I'm going to a family reunion. I know I'm going to see so-and-so, and they're going to say or do that thing again. This time, my heart is going to be calm and clear and peaceful, and whatever they do is water off the duck's back. I'm not going to let it disturb my peace because I control my emotional power plant. I'm practicing and training and managing. Woo, I love this. And when we get that in control, you guys, we have so much power. Unbelievable, unlimited amounts of power that come from our emotions. And we can put them to work in our favor. So let's make it happen, my friends. Awesome's always an option. Reach upward. Hey everybody, thanks so much for listening to this episode. I hope you got a lot of value out of it and found some things that you can apply to your life right away. Hey, I'm being totally sincere when I say I live to help you live your extraordinary life. So I hope you'll reach out to me if you have any questions or let me know how I can help you in any important area of your life. And in fact, this podcast is brought to you by the School of Awesome Sauce monthly coaching program. Take advantage of that. Get in there. It's the best way to get a breakthrough to the next level so you can level up your health, your spirituality, your emotions, your mind, your relationships, your finances, business, every part of your life. Just get in there where you have a coach and a mentor. You have a supportive community to make things happen. So jump in there, take advantage of this, try it out, get in there with us, and level up your life. See you on the inside. Reach upward.